Welcome to the Holiday Podcast, where we sit over some homemade challah on Friday afternoons here at my dining room table. I'm your host, Tammy Priest, a Jewish follower of Jesus, and it's great to be with you today as we take another look at the intersection of the old and the new. So today is Friday the 13th. Lots of people think it's unlucky, but 13 is actually my lucky number because I was born on the 13th. In fact, today is my birthday. And I actually turned 13 on Friday the 13th, which really was an awesome day because I was in Jerusalem with my grandparents, and we were at an archaeological dig that day that was taking place under my grandparents' friend's home in the old city. And here is a picture of that day. My grandmother loved to put labels directly on photos. But this was just a few birthdays ago, right? So anyway, birthdays are fun to celebrate. And as you may know, the Old Testament is filled with celebrations and lots of feasts and festivals. But actually right now, we're in the middle of a really quiet month on the Jewish calendar, Elul. There are no official feasts or festivals or fasts. So everyone is kind of resting spiritually, but at the same time also looking forward to the first day of next month, which is Tishri, because that first day of Tishri is Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets. And that's the day when the blast of the shofar, the ram's horn, will shatter the silence of this quiet month that we're in. As a side note, in fact, Rosh Hashanah was the very first holiday podcast last year. And you all got to hear me blow the ram's horn, which is a pretty startling sound, really. And those startling blasts of the ram's horn and Rosh Hashanah really propel the Jewish people into 10 intense days of repentance, which are called the Days of Awe. And they culminate on the Day of Atonement, on Yom Kippur. We'll definitely talk about this more when we get there in September. But one thing I wanted to share right now is that at the very end of the Day of Atonement, as the sun is setting, the worship closes with everyone praying to be written in God's book of life. And then there's a long, loud blast of the shofar. And it's a really powerful moment and a really powerful 10 days. And so this current quiet month that we're in really sits in contrast to the startling call of what's ahead. But there's a really cool parable that rabbis have taught for a long time about this month of Elul. And they teach that during this tranquil month, with nothing going on, God is like an ancient king who would leave his throne. He would walk through the fields on his way into the city, and he would receive anyone who would like to approach him before he re-entered the palace. And they teach that this parable points to a time when God is making himself fully accessible, greeting any and all people with kindness and compassion before he goes back to his throne, where he'll dispense judgment and mercy on the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's a really beautiful parable, and it's inspired by God's 13 attributes of mercy, which he shared with Moses in Exodus 34. And he passed in front of Moses, calling out, the Lord, a compassionate and merciful God, patient, always faithful, and ready to forgive. He continues to show his love to thousands of generations, forgiving wrongdoing, disobedience, and sin. As a Jewish believer in Jesus, I love this King in the Field parable even more because it paints such a powerful and compassionate picture of the Messiah. I mean, Jesus left his throne and came to walk the fields of the earth with us, to welcome any and all who wish to approach him, no matter what field they called home, to show the way of mercy, which means that now, for the believer in Jesus, if you think about it, every month is really the month of Elul because the king is still in the field, greeting anyone and everyone with kindness and compassion through his spirit, lingering in the fields until that final day, not wanting anyone to miss their chance, miss their moment to join him, so that they can come with him and enter the eternal sanctuary and throne room by his side. And so on this Sabbath Eve, as we enter a time of rest, in the middle of this quiet month of Elul, I think it would be really cool for us to mentally picture this parable in our minds, to close our eyes and visualize the Messiah, the King in the field, meeting each one of us personally with compassion and kindness, and watching him meet our loved ones and strangers with compassion and kindness, kind of bringing all of us field workers together in his presence, all moving together as one, really just together marveling at his presence. As David said in Psalm 68, "Your procession has come into view, O God, the procession of my God and King into the sanctuary." Our King is in the field with welcoming arms, whispering words of life and community. And as we each try to visualize this reality, I pray today that we would all be able to exhale, even with everything that's swirling around us right now, and that we would be able to rest and rejoice in him, with him, the King, in the field on this holiday.